You know, we're seeing so many bears, aren't we, at the roadside and everything. It's a good job we got that bear spray the other day for when we're out on these hikes.
Yeah, it is, but that guy at the shop said that really we need a gun.
Yeah, that's true, but if you're going to use a gun for bear protection, you have to file off the front sight off the end of the barrel.
Why?
Well, because then it doesn't hurt so much when the bear shoves it up your ass.
We're Sarah and Ben, and we're exploring Canada in our camper van. Welcome back to Diamonds on Tour.
This mountain is called Tyrrell Mountain, and it's here on the Crow's Nest Pass in southern Alberta in the Rocky Mountains. And in 1903, 4 o'clock in the morning in April the 29th, the top of the mountain broke off and this rock cascaded down in a huge landslide. 82 million tons of rock slid down into the valley, and in the base of the valley was a town called Frank. It was set up as homes for the mining community that had built up here, and there was mine workings going on in the base of the mountain which had some contribution towards the landslide. The town had 600 residents, and up to about 100 of them, they think, 90 to 100 of them lost their lives, and they lie to this day buried underneath this rock. And at the bottom of the rock, in the middle, it's so deep that you could have a 15-story building would be buried by that rock. So nowadays the mountain is covered with monitoring equipment and detecting tiny movements in the rock, because they know the rest of the mountain is very likely to slip in years to come. But actually they reckon that they'll have years possibly of notice of any movement. And actually what's interesting is that the native people way back in the 19th century would never make camp at the base of here. The native people referred to this as the moving mountain, and they were scared of it. There were long stories passed down through generations. So interestingly, I think they had probably spotted the sort of movement which eventually led to the landslide, which today we use technology to monitor, whereas they just use their knowledge of the land and the movement of the rock. This is head smashed in buffalo jump. You see the cliffs behind me. So you can imagine thousands of years ago, a buffalo is a huge animal, and if you wanted to kill one to eat, it was a really dangerous task. So the native people would actually herd the buffalo to the top of the cliff, and the buffalo would just run off and be seriously injured or killed at the bottom, where they would be butchered and the meat processed and on to eat. The people would camp down on the plains below. Buffalo, this is the animal which we were calling a bison when we were at Grasslands National Park. Those two words are actually used interchangeably here, that a buffalo and a bison are basically the same creature over here. This site's called Head Smashed In because we thought that was because as the buffalo fell, their heads got smashed in and that killed them. Actually, that's not true. There's a legend about a young boy who wanted to experience it for himself from one of the tribes, and he actually hid just underneath the rocks to watch the buffalo coming down over him and being killed in front of him. And in fact, the buffalo fell on top of him and his head was smashed in, and that's why this is called Head Smashed In Buffalo Jump. The other really interesting thing is that there's evidence that the native people here were using this for killing the buffalo 7,000 years ago. And that was at a time, we know that in the 1800s there were 60 million of these bison or buffalo living in this part of North America. So these plains and the plains above the cliff would have been covered with thousands of these bison. And of those 60 million bison or buffalo that roamed these prairies back in those times, they were hunted virtually to extinction by the European settlers. So they're now very, very rare species. The Rocky Mountains over in the distance. This map of North America puts in perspective, you can see where we are. Now, this line here is the border between the US and Canada. These plains are what we've just spent the last couple of weeks driving over. and then this is the mountains, the Rocky Mountains. So we are in just here, right at the edge of the plains. A teepee, the traditional home of the native people.
Absolutely love it here that we've got some indigenous writings, very poetic writings, and this one. As soon as we see a sign of spring, we call it home days are coming. After that is when the ice breaks up in the rivers. We have many other names for spring, when the geese come, when the buffalo plant is in flower, or when buffalo calves are yellow. Plenty of things happen in springtime, and the year has come full circle. For thousands of years, the native people of the plains lived in a portable dwelling called a teepee. These cone-shaped tents were made of tanned buffalo hides and sewn together with sinew. The hide cover would be draped around a frame of straight poles and anchored against the wind with rocks placed around the outside of the hide. Camp sent out young men as buffalo runners to gather a large herd of buffalo and bring them within the drive lanes. They knew that buffalo have a keen sense of smell but poor vision. The people also knew that cows are wary of predators and protective of calves, so the runners disguised themselves with wolf and buffalo calf skins. Those disguised as calves oft-bellowed calf cries, while the wolves stalked the herd, drawing the animals toward the cliff. When the runners had got them into the drive lanes, they basically caused the stampede, and then the runners would escape at the last moment by slipping through the drive lanes. Wow. If you take a look down here, you can see this is the interpretive centre, and actually on their site they've excavated down, and you can see remnants, lots and lots of remnants of bones in every single level, because this buffalo jump, they believe, started off as a jump of how many feet, Ben? 20 metres, and now, because of all the dust and the rubble that's come off the top and bones as the herds go over the top and then crash, and then they're obviously dealt with, it's now only 10 metres in depth from the top of the cliff to the ground.
Well, we're just leaving the Hard Knocks Brewery. Another great harvest toast for last night. And we came here especially because this town is called Diamond Valley. Yes, it is. And everything here is diamond. There's a place there called Diamond West Sales. Yeah. No idea what they sell, but that's what they're called. And there's lots of places in the town with our name. So it was right that Diamonds on Tour had to tour Diamond Valley.
No brainer, really, wasn't it?
It really was.
Yeah. It was a comfortable night in the car park. 2 more vehicles. Clear now, clear.
Oh, bloody hell.
Oh my goodness me. That was a bit bouncy.
That was very, very bad. Bloody hell. Black Diamond Gallery.
Yeah. Oh, that looks nice, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Black Diamond Hotel. Black Diamond Convenience Store. Oh, look at that. Diamond Smiles. That's the dentist.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
Excellent.
I think we may have just spotted Calgary.
We spent a couple of days with our friends Karen and Kevin here in Calgary. They gave us lots of valuable local knowledge and were tremendous hosts. We even did a little hike into the mountains. Thank you both, it was amazing. This is Elbow Falls. Having just done the walk, the Fullerton Trail, we thought we'd just pop here and have a look at this. Isn't that marvellous? We've arrived at the Provincial Park, Dinosaur Provincial Park, and this site is spectacular.
And we haven't even arrived at the Provincial Park proper yet, but there's a little park up, this car park here, which is beautifully empty.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
And
refer to it as a viewpoint.
in just a moment, I'll turn the camera around so you can see what we're looking at, because this really is quite incredible. We had no idea what to expect coming here, but this is what's called the Badlands, which is basically land which is not farmed. You'll see why when you see it. I'm just going to turn the camera around and let you see it because I can't describe it.
I've never seen anything like this. This is amazing.
Wow, that is unbelievable.
You have to visualise all the dinosaurs. Like Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
You can see why it's not farmed. The road down to Dinosaur Provincial Park.
Example of the hard rock on top of the soft.
The Cooley Trail visitor centre just about there. What incredible scenery, and you get a great view of the way these like flat bits of rock protect the softer muddy rock from erosion below and create these amazing formations. And it's the soft rock here as it erodes that reveals the dinosaur skeletons or fossils of them in this area. How stunning. They say that the ground here erodes by between 2 and 4 millimeters every year. So in the springtime there's a bit of a rush of people, the researchers and the scientists coming here to discover the new fossils that have been revealed in the previous winter. And when we first saw this, we were parked up on a ridge over here somewhere, and we had the view down over this area, but now we've travelled down and we're actually walking around these formations. It's just mind-blowing. Absolutely incredible. Beautiful campground down there, and some quite dangerous places for the kids to play on.
Yeah, it's really fun. Hoodoos,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Like this, I mean, they're all over the place, so
Yeah.
they are fabulous.
Oh, look at that ledge there.
Yeah.
Wow.
All over you can see the way this land is formed, with a layer of harder stone and then this much softer kind of muddy stone really, and this on the top protects the ground underneath from erosion, and you get left with these rocks balanced on top of these little formations. And we've seen these in other parts of the world. In a place in the Dolomites in Italy, we saw a very small collection of this, and they made very tall pillars that were absolutely beautiful. But this is such an extensive area, enormous Great Canyon, and this way you can see the erosions made these slots down where the water runs down every year, cutting it away.
This is the scenic loop drive around this valley at Dinosaur Provincial Park. So we thought we'd take advantage of that and have a little drive around this incredible landscape. Along the scenic drive there are stops where they have fossils displayed, actually in position. They've obviously built a glass case around them to protect them. This is where the fossil was found, and obviously they've built this glass building around it to protect it. But it's quite incredible. The tail, I think the tail is very noticeable, and then you've got the limbs. I can see the limbs, the backbone there. This is amazing. What do you think made Roy Fowler dig here?
I don't know, I mean, lots of other dinosaurs were found in the area, but this is right next to the car park. He's got to bring all his tools in and stuff, hasn't he?
Seriously. And this is the second dinosaur fossil site. Centrosaurus. This is a Centrosaurus bone bed. And this is how the paleontologists would have worked and found it. Look, I like the humour, gone for lunch sign. We have just left the Dinosaur Provincial Park, having done a little hike. No, not really a hike. We did a little walk. We visited the exhibition in the visitor centre, and we did the motor trail around, which was rather super because we managed to see some fossils in situ. And then we had our lunch as well. So all good, wasn't it?
Fantastic, really good.
And now we are heading off towards Drumheller. 2 hours drive from here, and nice, should be straightforward. Nothing to report on that, hopefully. So we'll see you later.
Last night's park up at the very nice Frison Brothers. It's an alternative to camping at Walmart, and the shop is absolutely stunning. They've got a fabulous range of very nice local produce, and from this car park here in Drumheller there's actually a bit of a view over there of some of the Badlands, and out the other side of the valley there, and you can see them there, This is Canadian Tire here, so what a place to stay. So we're off now to drive back down through Drumheller and down towards the Hoodoos, which should be quite spectacular.
Well, here we are at Drumheller and the Hoodoos. So the word hoodoo originates from the Hausa language of West Africa, meaning to arouse resentment, produce retribution. Hoodoo was a distinct magic practice introduced to North America in the 18th century, although different in nature than the more familiar voodoo. Aboriginal peoples used hoodoo to refer to evil, supernatural forces. Some believed hoodoos were giants turned to stone by the Great Spirit due to their evil deeds. Hoodoos are eroded pillars of soft sandstone rock, topped with a resilient cap. The cap protects the softer rock underneath from eroding as quickly as the surrounding rock. Once the cap deteriorates, the pillar is more vulnerable to the elements and subjected to rapid deterioration.
Now, from this really fabulous sort of viewing platform and staircase that goes up here, you can get a really clear idea of here that further up the hillside you can actually see harder stone plates, if you like, that are protecting the softer stone underneath. And then as the hillside goes down, you see much bigger hoodoos are emerging because the ground around them has been eroded already. So these ones that you can see up here towards the top of this bit of hill, in maybe, I don't know, 10,000 years, they will be the new big pillars that will emerge, and over that time the bigger ones we can see there now will have collapsed. Now, quite a long time ago, about 70 to 72 million years ago, this area was actually the coastline of a huge sea that stretched all the way from the Gulf of Mexico right up to the Arctic in the north of Canada. And that's why in this area you get all the dinosaur remains, because that was the coastline that they lived along back in those days. Now, these bands that you can see running through the hillside are layers that were laid down as all the sediment and everything was deposited over millions and millions of years. And those much darker lines are where there were layers of vegetation which later became coal seams, and this area during the early 20th century was a very important region for coal production. I'm glad they haven't dug this away to sort of mine the coal. Now, in planning our trip to this part of Canada, we'd seen these hoodoos online and thought, yeah, that's a pretty cool thing to visit. And I must say, when we arrived here, I was quite surprised that the area where the actual hoodoos are is very small. So if you're planning a trip here, don't think that you're going to have 3 square miles of hoodoos. It is just this very small area, and it may well be that there are other things just the same up in the mountains that are much less accessible. I just don't know that. So maybe there's hikes you can do that take you to others in more remote places. But for now, this is a fascinating thing to see. It really is interesting. Add it to your list. It's about 15 minutes drive up that highway to Drumheller. The Badlands of Alberta, to the north of Drumheller. Location for this magnificent Royal Tyrrell Museum.
It was declared royal in 1990 when Queen Elizabeth II came to visit.
Well, that was the Royal Tyrrell Museum of Paleontology out here in the Alberta Badlands, just near Drumheller. Yeah. Fabulous. There's a really interesting story, or at least it is a story, whether there's any truth to it or not. A guy that we met at Moose Jaw told us this, and he said that in 1985 this opened, and 1985 was the 100th anniversary of the first place that was kind of the forerunner to the national parks, place in the Rocky Mountains, and it was also the 75th anniversary of the province of Alberta, and they wanted to do some celebrations, the province did. So they said to a guy who was a dinosaur specialist, can you build us a museum to celebrate those anniversaries? But this guy was super busy, he didn't know that much about museums, he was a dinosaur expert, and he basically thought, well, I don't really want to do this, so I'll just put in a ridiculous price, and then they won't come back. Anyway, he said his price, which I think was $30 million, and they just went, yep, okay, do it. So he was stuck with having to build this museum at this hugely inflated price, which meant that they had enough money to make it a really stunning museum. Now, whether there's any truth to that or not, it's the old thing, why let the truth get in the way of a good story?
I hope it's true. It's a good story. It's
definitely the sort of thing that you want to be true, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because the end result is that is a truly magnificent museum.
Yeah.
I always think, whether you're interested in a subject or not, I mean, a dinosaur museum, we all love a good dinosaur, but we're no huge dinosaur fans. But it doesn't matter what the subject is, if it's presented really, really well, I think you can make any subject really interesting.
And you'll see round here, there's so many things have got dinosaurs outside and things like that, which is really quite funny.
Yeah.
That place is said it's for sale, so that's shut down. But you know, you can see on their lampposts there are dinosaurs and just everywhere, really.
Yep.
It's definitely a big dinosaur place.
Definitely. I mean, this is the absolute world centre of dinosaurs and dinosaur fossils and all the rest of it. One dinosaur whose skeleton you might think, if you didn't know what you're talking about, like us, you might think it was a Tyrannosaurus Rex, is actually called the Albertosaurus.
Yes.
Obviously coming from Alberta. And in the 60 odd million years, I might not be right with that dinosaurs existed.
Oh, much longer than that.
Oh, okay, 100 million years?
120, I think, something like that.
In the 120 million years that dinosaurs roamed our planet, only in the very last 1 million years did Tyrannosaurus Rex exist. And that one was Albertosaurus, was a pre-runner in evolutionary terms to the Tyrannosaurus.
Quite amazing.
Super fascinating.
Yeah.
We've learnt so much today.
And really certainly if you are really, really into dinosaurs, then you've got to get here. You've just really got to get here. The whole area is staggering.
So there's Dinosaur RV Park.
Yeah.
So if you're a dinosaur with your RV, that's where you can park. Oh, it's a big traffic jam coming the other way.
Yeah. As we drive deep into the Rocky Mountains on this gravel road, we're going to finish this week's video. Come back next week when we're visiting some very lovely places.